Okay, I have here the Diamine Inkvent Calendar for 2023, and I'm excited about getting some new inks. So here I go, opening day number 1. It is Fortune's Gold, and it says that it's a chameleon ink. Okay, so it looks like it has some ink to mix in there. So I have my little cafe notebook that I'm going to swatch these into. I got this to be a designated swatch book because so I have my swatches in one place and can find them easily, because I typically do them in whatever sketchbook or notebook I'm using, and then I can't ever remember where they are. So I have a variety of ways that I use my ink, as I said. Also want to do a little swatch on this little reinforcement, because I'm going to put this on the lid, because I will probably store these little jars upright. This will enable me to see exactly what the ink color is when it's in my little box. But for now, I'm going to continue to play with it a little bit. So this is Tomoe River paper in here. I just want to play with it a little bit and see what it does. This is Strathmore mixed media paper. The ink works quite nicely on this mixed media paper. It's much more absorbent than the Tomoe River paper, so it's quite different. It doesn't do the pooling and shadowing that I really love on the Tomoe River paper, but it does handle more like watercolor might, like a thin liquid watercolor on this mixed media paper. I've just tried out some simple little decorations and added water to it too to see how that works. I'm also going to do a swatch in the December monthly of my 2024 work planner that I'm doing in a Hobonichi Day Free. I'm not going to dive into this planner until January, so I finish out 2023 in my 2023 planner. So this would be an otherwise unused monthly spread, so I thought that'd be a good place to put these swatches. One thing I'm already noticing about these inks is that you gotta be sure and shake them before you use them, because the little sparkles in them settle quite quickly. Again, I love the pooling that you get on the Tomoe River paper. I can certainly see why people like to use this paper with inks. But in reality, I know I will be using it on other papers, mixed media paper, sketchbook papers of various sorts, watercolor paper as well. I'm going to give this a minute to dry, and then I will put the name on there as well. And this will be, I think, a quick and easy reference, because I think I would kind of like to use these colors as like a theme for the day, like on the first in my journaling and things. Maybe I will use this color. At least that's the idea I have, so we'll see. And since I don't always keep up with my journaling the day of, I can refer back to this. I do really like how this ink layers up. You can get just a light layer, or you can go over it to get a darker layer, and I'm just playing here, making some stars on top of it as well, just because I'm having fun with this ink. Now I'm going back to my swatch book and check how that first layer that I did dried, and it's looking really pretty. I love the pools and shadows that it makes, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of a shimmer when you get the light on it. All in all, I'm pretty happy with this first color and all the potential that I can see it having. I had a lot of fun doing these swatches and hope you're having fun following along, and I'm going to be jumping right back in with day 2. I'll probably go a little quicker through the rest of the days. Okay, here I am with day 2 of my Diamine Inkvent Calendar for 2023. This beautiful purple edition, my first time doing this, and I'm ready for day 2. And it is Cashmere Rose. Over here, I guess I don't need to mix this. A little color sticker for the top. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm going to try that my Kakamori brass nib today. Now I decided to pull out my Fortune's Gold from day one again and see how that mixes with the Cashmere Rose. And I am excited about the possibilities in mixing these inks, and it'll be fun to have so many colors that and mixing possibilities. So right here I see that it can make a really interesting kind of blush color, I guess. I'm not sure. I see some potential here for some skin tones maybe. Now I'm just trying to kind of like drip them together and let them mix naturally, I guess. And just kind of playing around with what the inks can do. Using a heat gun to dry my page a bit before I go on. It's also interesting how, I don't know if you could see how I blew the petals to dry, and that can be a neat effect as well. Just finishing up day 2 by adding the name of this ink onto my monthly swatches, and drawn some little hearts here. And again, I like how the ink layers on top of itself. So far, I'm very happy with my 2 inks. Back again with my Inkvent calendar, and now I'm ready for day number 3, which is down here. Early Dusk, which is a standard ink, as was the last one, Cashmere Rose. I'm not sure I said that. Okay, so far I have the Fortune's Gold and the Cashmere Rose, both of which I really like and I think could be very useful. I especially love the Cashmere Rose so far. The 2 of them mixed together make this lovely orange, which I think would be a very nice color to use as well. I do like how those mix. So far I'm pretty happy with those. So continuing on, I originally was going to do these front and back, but I'm glad I opted not to and put them on a separate page, because there is some bleed through when I really puddle it up. Just normal writing, there is not, just a bit ghosting, but when I do these puddles, which I really love to see how they act, it does soak through. So we are now on to day 3. Very pretty. Got my Kakamori nib again. I do really like this nib. It holds a lot of ink, and you get a lot of, like, I can tip it to the side and get a really wide, or I can, get it on the tip and get narrower. I think with some practice, you could do some really fun, like calligraphy type things, effect with it. Certainly I like it for drawing because you can get a variable line weight. very pretty deep blue. I think that could be very nice for writing and for drawing as well. One thing that I am cognizant of on my inks is that I have drawing inks that are permanent, and then I have others that are water soluble, so it's not fair to try that yet because it hasn't had a chance to dry, but that is something I'm very mindful of. So these I would use more as a watercolor and less of a like permanent drawing ink that I would add watercolor to later. So both are very nice. I just need to know which one I'm using. Okay, set that aside to dry. I'm kind of happy that they gave some version of the primary colors on the first 3 days. Using these 3 colors, there's lots of other colors you could mix, at least in theory, so I think that was kind of fun. I have a yellow and a blue. I could make a green. We've already seen me mix the yellow with the cashmere rose and make this kind of blush color. Let's play for a bit. So this is my gold, my cashmere rose, mixed them together. Okay, let's try this out just by itself. Very pretty. Add some water here. It's interesting to see how these first 3 inks react with each other, putting dots on both dry and wet areas and watching them blend and mix. And there's some interesting effects here that I think could be very fun to use in some artwork. So it's good to put it through its paces and check it out. Again, you see the advantage of having the 3 primary-ish colors to start with. I have a yellow and blue that I can make a beautiful green, and then the cashmere rose with this early dusk blue makes a purple color, and so I get a lot of variety just with these first 3 inks. I think I'll record on here in right in my swatch book some of these mixes so that I can remind myself how they mix with some of the other colors and some of the potential that I can do with these colors. Now that this has had a little time to dry, I'm kind of doing a water test here, and as you can see, it bleeds a fair bit, which if I'm using it more like a watercolor will work just fine. Now I'm on to day 4, and my camera was off for part of this, but I'm going to go ahead and share playing with this color. It's called Masquerade. It's like a darker, dustier version of the cashmere rose. They're actually a little similar, just this is a deeper, darker color, more muted, I guess. I'm just trying out some little illustrations here and just kind of seeing how it works with the brush. Trying some little mushrooms. I think of more earthy illustrations with this color, so that's what I'm going for here. I like to try it not only with the pen but with the brush, and different colors I think are more suited, different ones of these inks. Like some of them I'd be more likely to use writing. Like I think this is a beautiful color for writing. I am less enthused about it for just illustrating, although I do see that it could be a lovely color for that as well. But I think that between the two, there will be some that I will use more writing and some I will use more for illustrating. You see me here now mixing it with the Fortune's Gold and the Cashmere Rose that I already had, and then I'm putting in some of that Early Dusk ink as well, just to see how it reacts and how it looks with it. I've gotten 4 inks so far. Number 1 was Fortune's Gold, number 2 Cashmere Rose, number 3 Early Dusk, and number 4 was Masquerade. So far so good. Now I'm ready for day 5. It is Nightfall and says it's a chameleon ink. was a very dark ink, very intense, so it's a little bit challenging to mix, but it looks great with some white pen on top of it. And this would be a very nice ink for writing as an option to black. Day number 6 is Buck's Fizz. And this is a really lovely orange ink. I can see this being a very useful color, not only by itself, but for mixing with other colors as well. And I've had some fun playing with it, and I especially love how it pooled and shadowed on my Tomoe River paper. I think that's turned out really pretty. I'm going to go ahead and record a couple of my favorite mixes for this one, which was with Fortune's Gold and Cashmere Rose. I'm back again with my calendar, this time for day 7, which is Sweet Dreams, and that is our first scented ink. And I've never had a scented ink before. It does smell, it has a very, I don't know, sweet smell. I'm not sure that I really care for my inks to be scented, and the texture of it is much different. It seems to bleed and feather much more, which I don't really find desirable. I don't know if you can tell there, but where I wrote the Sweet Dreams below the ink swatch, it's really bleeding out a little bit, and I'll have to check and see if it bled through the page as well, but I'm not as wild about the consistency of this one. It's very juicy. I do like the color though, and it will be a fun color to mix in with other things as well, I think. I'll do a little bit of playing with it and see how I feel about it after that. This is one ink that I actually like better on the mixed media paper. I think it behaves better here. The bleeding or feathering is not as much of a problem here, and it does mix nicely with the other colors and gives a nice consistency and texture with those. So I think it's kind of redeemed itself after I played with it in this book. I think it's just maybe not something I would necessarily use like in a journal or planner, but using it for art purposes, I think will work fine. I'm using a more fine tip dip pen to see if that makes a difference as I label the name of the ink on here. And at least on top of itself, writing on top of itself, it still kind of bleeds out a little bit. So I think maybe writing is just not going to be the best thing, or at least not on the Tomoe River paper. Alright, so that was week 1, and this drawing is one that I had done in preparation for doing the Inkvent calendar, and I thought I would just go ahead and paint it in using the inks 1 through 7, or not using anything other than those at least. And so the first thing I'm trying to do is figure out, can I make a flesh color? And I'm reasonably happy with how that came out. I mixed the Fortune's Gold and the Buck's Fizz, and then ended up adding a little of the Sweet Dreams to that as well to kind of pink it up a bit. And I think it's a passable skin tone, so that's fun to know that with these 7 inks, how much I can really do. So there I am adding in the little bit of pink on there too. I'm kind of using my sketchbook page as a palette to actually mix the ink on. Otherwise, I'm using straight out of bottle. This is that Sweet Dreams that I was not wild about, but it's working okay on this mixed media paper in my sketchbook. It's a Art Creations sketchbook, and it's not quite as absorbent as the Strathmore mixed media one that I was playing around in, but it does seem to work okay. I chose Early Dusk as the color for the ink in the bottle. Again, I like how you can get lighter and darker shades of this just by how much you go over the ink, and so I think that gives it a very interesting look as you use it on an illustration. It goes on very nicely with a brush, and all in all, I'm quite happy with the potential here. By using it a little thinner, I can make lighter shades, and by layering it, I can make it darker. I made this little dropper bottle too, so I don't want to forget to do it as well as a little companion element. I'm trying to do a little bit of shading here, making those little ink drops be lighter on the top side and darker on the bottom side. Also getting the eyes, and then I'm going to thicken up my little lettering on the ink bottle label. Going back in with another coat of blue to just darken up certain areas in it. And then I'm going back in with, on top of the Sweet Dreams ink, with that Cashmere Rose color, and just doing a little shading on that. It's a little bit of a darker pink, and it works well together, I think, to do some shading. I'm grabbing the Masquerade to do the lid, just kind of trying to use as many of the colors as I can, so I'm using that for the lid on here. And then I grabbed that Nightfall to use as a black color, which it's like very dark, so it works well as a black. Finally, I'm using the Fortune's Gold to paint the label on this bottle. I'd used permanent ink to do the lettering, so I can just paint right over it with this Fortune's Gold. And that wraps up week 1 of my Diamine Inkvent calendar for 2023. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.